Let's talk about it, shall we? And talk about it we shall. Today we're going to be taking a look at Danmachi Memoria Freese's revenue across their servers. Primarily, we're going to be taking a look at the Japanese server, the US server, and the EU servers because these are the most populated servers. And unfortunately, I could not find anything regarding the KR, Taiwan, and Hong Kong servers. That is to say, we can still get a bit of a guesstimate based on, of course, the EU server, because the EU server is literally in terms of being like the middle of the pack when it comes to the population of players in that game, or in that server, I should say. So we're going to use that as a guesstimate. And along with that, we are obviously going to be talking about this whole end of service malarkey. We're going to be talking about my opinion on it, a subjective opinion, and then we'll look at it from a more objective opinion through the use of all the revenue sources. And we're also going to take a look at, of course, some other gacha games in and around Danmachi Memoria Freese's ballpark in terms of revenue, and talk about the likelihood of Danmachi Memoria Freese reaching its end of service anytime soon. Now, of course, if you guys go on to enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel for more Danmachi and Danmachi Memoria Freese content, and leave your own thoughts down below in the comment section. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say down below, because a lot of people, I feel like, have been talking about Danmemo ending sometime soon because of Danmachi Battle Chronicle, and of course we just had Danmachi Cross Historia reach its end of service, and so many other gacha games have announced their end of service. Of course, with the fiscal year ending in Japan, a lot of games announced their end of service, so people were like, well, Danmemo's next on the chopping block, right? So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you haven't been able to give your opinion, maybe you haven't been in some of the discords, or you weren't on the Reddit, or whatever it may be, and you want to voice your opinion, put it in the comment section down below. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say down below. Now, before we get into the numbers and getting the dissection going, basically, and the analysis flowing, I would like to mention and put a disclaimer here that these numbers are very much estimates, right? These aren't accurate numbers to the dot, because we will never get those numbers unless and until WFS or GRI or any of these gacha developers and publishers want to give their accurate numbers. We'll never get those numbers. So take this with a little bit of a pinch of salt, that these numbers can be a little bit off, they can be a little bit more, they can be a little bit less. We don't know, we have no idea, and they also don't tend to include certain details. So we'll talk about that later on in this video, specifically regarding a certain point, so keep that in mind. I will talk about it at the end of this video when we're referring to the Japanese server, of course. Now, you might be wondering, Gil, why the hell are we on Danmachi Battle Chronicle's Sensor Tower page? Shouldn't we be on Danmachi Memoria Freese's Sensor Tower page? And you are correct on that front. We should be on Danmachi Memoria Freese's Sensor Tower page. But before we get there, I want to talk a little bit about exactly how Sensor Tower works. Sensor Tower tends to show two versions of one app. They show the Apple version and they show the Android version, right? But the thing is, with Danmachi Memoria Freese, because of the fact that there are multiple servers, they tend to show four versions of the app, because there'll be one set that is for the US server, and then there will be one set of Apple and Android for the EU version of the game. So bear that in mind as we take a look and click on this right here and show you guys the revenue. Now, as you can see, there are two versions of the game that are giving $50,000 in revenue, and two versions of the game that are giving around $18,000 in revenue. Now, if I click on this, you can see that the 50,000 Apple one is the US version of the game, and if we click on also the other one that is right here, that was also giving $50,000 for the Android version, it's also the US version of the game. So basically, $100,000 is the US server and $18,000 is the European server. Now, those aren't fantastic numbers. I mean, anybody can tell me that, and anybody can tell you that as well, that those aren't fantastic numbers. In fact, Princess Connect Redive, the global version of the game, or the US version of the game, I should say, died because it was only making like $100,000. So that is, you know, that says a lot. And remember, Princess Connect Redive, I think, was available in far more countries than just the US, if my memory serves me correct, which is crazy considering what I'm looking at is basically a game that is only available in like 7 countries. I mean, if we take a look at also the EU version of the game, right, it's only available in France, Germany, United Kingdom, Italy, 4 countries, Austria, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Greece. Wow, it's okay. It's available in a lot of EU countries. I thought it was only available in like the Western EU countries like France, Germany, United Kingdom, Italy, and like Austria maybe, as well as Ireland. I thought it was only like 5 or 6 countries, but fair enough if it's available in that many EU countries. So it's even worse then, actually. It's a lot worse than I thought it was. It's only $18,000 across like 10 regions, which is crazy. That's like $1,000 per region, per month, that is. These revenue sources are per month, by the way. These are the monthly revenue streams that Danmachi gets, basically. So what do I think about it? Well, those aren't good numbers. Like I said, I don't think they're good numbers. And if you compare them to other games right here, right? Like if you take a look at games like, for example, the US version of Alchemy Stars, specifically the US version of Alchemy Stars, they only made $70,000, which, I mean, the US server alone does a fantastic job. It already beats Alchemy Stars US version, for example. But if you look at the global version of Alchemy Stars, which includes the JP server and everything, makes $200,000. And we, on the other hand, if we exclude the US version and we exclude Japan for now, because we'll get on to Japan in a second, if we take a look at the EU and KR, Taiwan and Hong Kong servers, they probably make at most $25,000. Worst case scenario, I'm gonna estimate $25,000, which is not great whatsoever, right? Even so, if you add Alchemy Stars global and US versions, $270,000, and you bring in the US version as well with the EU and stuff like that, we're making around $125,000, which is far and away lower than the current revenue of Alchemy Stars, as an example, a game that's kind of floundering at this point in time, of course, right? And if you take a look at just generally other revenue sources for other games, I mean, you take a look at, I mean, you can't compare it with the likes of Honkai Star Rail or Genshin Impact or anything of that sort. We cannot compare it to that. But if we compare it to some of the smaller titles, right, I think the best game we can actually compare it to is Sword Art Online Variant Showdown. I mean, look at how badly Sword Art Online Variant Showdown is doing. $160,000 across all servers, including Japan, and we're already very close to that. So in a way, it is not the greatest revenue for Danmachi Memoria Freese, but when you compare it to some of the other games like Sword Art Online Variant Showdown, which is only doing like $50,000 globally, it's insane that, you know, Danmemo is actually doing a relatively okay job in surviving. Near reincarnation, we're doing better than that as well. So it's the gacha scene is very weird, where some games do a fantastic job, right? You know, they sell like hotcakes across the world, and you don't understand how they do it. But some games just don't do well whatsoever. It's just not possible and feasible for them to do well at all. I mean, you take a look at Blue Archive, $4 million, and rightfully so, because it's a good game. We also have this alternate sort of like gacha revenue Excel spreadsheet, thanks to the Reddit gacha game r/gacha gaming, and you can take a look at the very bottom here as well. Princess Reconnect Redive at the end of service was only making $170,000 globally. You also have Alchemy Stars right now, $70,000 on the US only version of the game. Growth Frontline JP is only making $100,000, and so on and so forth. So in comparison to some of these names, you know, some of these names are well known. Konosuba's global version's only making $150,000. The JP version's making $500,000. So when you compare it to these sort of games, and it's like, okay, maybe we aren't doing as bad. And the moment we take a look at the JP revenue, we will be able to gain a better idea of exactly how Danmemo is doing. Now, I'm going to take a look at the 2022 revenue first and foremost, because that is the most recent entire year we have regarding Danmemo. And what we're going to do is to basically make our lives easier, because the way the structure is for Danmemo and the way this website is structured is that it gives us the total amount in 100 million. So this is 11.76 million yen. So what I'm gonna do is, this is basically 1.176 billion yen. So what we'll do is 1.176 billion yen to dollars. We made in the last year alone, on the Japanese server alone, we made about $8.664 million, basically. $8.664 billion divided by 12. What will that be? Tell me, calculator. $722,000 per month. Now, if you take a look at this, $722,000, right? If we go up in up in the ranks, up in the ranks. We actually made the same as Honkai Impact 3rd JP in the last year alone in terms of a monthly revenue standpoint, of course. Now, this is a little bit trickier to say. We can't necessarily base it on that because we've taken the average, because obviously in certain months you will make more money, of course, right? Because of course in 1 month we will be making of course a lot more money because of anniversary. 1 month we'll be making a lot more because of Hero Festas. 1 month it'll be a little bit lower, a little bit more calmer, right? Because there's not much happening. Like for example, this month last year, we were only making, I think this is, let me just check, how much would this be in yen to dollars? Let's see. I'm curious to see how much would this be basically. Okay, that's the wrong thing. That there's no way we made only $500 in the last month. Let me just see what this translates to, this kanji, because I know that this kanji is 100 million. I don't know what that kanji is in English. That is 10,000. Okay, 6,839 times 10,000. So 6,389 times 10,000. How much is that? Okay. Oh, thank you so much for the solution here, buddy. Can I not copy this? Okay, I'll just copy this and let's divide that. Let's convert that yen to dollars. Let's see how much that was. $470,000 on an off month basically is what Japan made. $470,000 in an off month would place us around about the same level as Punishing Grave Raven JP, Konosuba Fantastic Days JP, and so on and so forth. And now the point I want to make here before we get into what they've been making this last couple of months, of course I'm going to start looking from the December of 2022 onwards and show you guys exactly what they're making. Now the point I want to make is that this number, as far as I know and my understanding, is that this does not include ad revenue. Now some of you guys may not know this, but Danmachi Memoria Freese actually has ads in their game. So if you click on, you know, the passport section and you want to get that 10 free iris in the bottom left, you have to watch an ad, and so is the iris scratch card thing. So that also adds up. You also gain revenue from there. I'm not sure on exactly how much revenue that would be. I'm not a game developer or publisher. I don't understand exactly how much the ad revenue will amount to. But if you have people watching those ads and you know you're generating ad revenue from people just watching in like 5 ads a day. Let's say for example they do all of it. They watch all 5 ads every single day. You're gaining a bit of revenue from each individual, and the more players you have, let's say the entire Japanese server is doing it, let's say all 30,000 players are watching ads every single day, that is 150,000 ads. No, yeah, that's 150,000 ads being watched every day. I wasn't sure about the math, but 30,000 times 5, yeah, 150,000. So that gets added up as well. So in my personal opinion, the game is fine. At least thanks to the JP server, we're absolutely fine. We are probably making, along with the I would like to say, because this average is saying $700,000, I'm gonna say that we're making at least $800,000 per month off revenue basically, and in Japan only. And then if you add the US version and the EU version, and assuming they also watch ads, let's say they make $200,000 a month. Danmemo is probably making $1 million in total per month basically through the revenue of buying stuff, as well as just being able to watch ads and gain revenue from that. So realistically, if we say that they're making around $1 million, we're making the same as about, I would say, you know, along the lines of these games basically, around this area. Now these are of course individual servers, but I would say that if it is making $1 million per month, the translation fees as well as the VA costs, which are the primary sources of, you know, cost, I would say, for Danmemo, because let's be real, the development team is obviously getting paid, I would say, a decent amount. I don't know what their wages or salaries are, but the primary cost that when you look at a game like Danmemo is probably the translation fees, obviously translating it to English, Korean, and all that jazz. And then of course also paying the voice actors to, you know, voice act these entire large stories that, you know, the game gives us. And I think with $1 million per month, I think they're doing more than fine, to be quite honest. I think they're doing more than fine on that front. So in my personal opinion, based on this revenue alone and being realistic, I don't see a reason why we are worried about end of service at this point in time. I personally don't believe that to be the case. And now if you take a look at this is 1.28 100 million yen, so 128 100 million yen to dollars. which is that's 12 billion. That's not it. 1.2800 million. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. That is a little, that seems a little bit off, I'm not gonna lie. Because that is 120 nine, wait, what? wait. Am I doing my math wrong? That is 1 million, 8 million. Yeah, that's 8 million, 28 million, 128 million. So wait, then why was, how much is this? 11.7600 million yen. Did I do it wrong? Yeah, no. Okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, no, okay, that makes sense. Sorry, I'm being an idiot. My bad. So in December, so I was so confused, but that's because I was doing the math wrong. So 1.800 million yen basically is $943,000. That's what they made during the first Hero Festa banner. So this was when we obviously got the first Hero Festa banner. This was when we got Bell and Astreus, right? So that's why we got such a high revenue source. Then we got into January, which obviously gave us a little less at around 9,000, 10,000 effectively, which is about 90 million, I would say 90 million yen. If we go over here, do 90 million yen to dollars, $663,000, which is still a good amount. Then 1.15 million, so which we know already is around a lot of money. And this is when we got, of course, Hero Festa, Elise and Ryu. This is, of course, the slow month of like when we got Althea and Zard. Then this is, of course, Hero Festa, Alan and Otaro. And now this is the current month we're in. So this is obviously still early days. We're not at the start. This month will anyways be slow because, of course, we had the Gnosis War stuff, which isn't much. And frankly speaking, towards the end of the month, we'll probably see an uptick in revenue again because we'll get a rerun of all the banners. And if they decide to rerun the 5th year anniversary as well as the Hero Festas as well, expect this number to go up quite a bit as well, right, of this month. So effectively, so far this month alone, we've made around or this year alone, without looking at December 2012, we've made $3.5 million, $3 million in Japan, which is crazy good. And just generally as well, if you take a look at previous years, right, we used to have a much higher revenue. I will admit we've gone downhill big time. I mean, if you take a look at 2018, we made 20 billion or 2 billion yen, which is about, and that this is the first year, $14 million. Then we made in the second year of the game, we made around about, how much is this? How much would this be? $17.5 million. That is an insane amount. That is a very good amount. And then if you take a look at this as well, we have made effectively as well $13 million in 2020. 2021 is a little bit less, and then 2022 is also a little bit less. I do believe this year, however, because of the introduction of Hero Festas, as well as the hype of the light novels releasing from Omori Sensei, as well as season 4, I think this number is probably gonna shoot up. Not only just for, I assume, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think it'll only be Japan, but I also think the US versions will probably shoot up a little bit. Of course, there is the factor of Danmachi Battle Chronicle. We'll have to wait and see how that impacts Memoria Freeze, if it does impact it in any way. Of course, with the Battle Chronicle getting a PC version and everything, and obviously it's HoloLive streams, it'll probably sell more than Danmachi Memoria Freeze. But I think with the current revenue, and if it can maintain this revenue or even increase this revenue thanks to, like I said, the anime and the light novels, I think there's a very good chance that this game will survive for at least another year minimum. And the reason why I say at least another year, because some of you guys remember that NeoWiz and Gree are also developing a gacha game in the near future. And now Gree is also the parent studio to WFS. There is a very good chance that Gree might push away, and stop Danmachi Memoria Freeze so that they can generate revenue from this new NeoWiz Danmachi game. So we'll have to wait and see on that front. But I generally think that right now, there is no worries about end of service. I personally don't believe it. The numbers also personally, I feel like they back it up as well. We aren't losing money. We genuinely, well, we are losing revenue from year on year. The revenue is going down, but that's something that I feel like happens with a lot of gacha games. And especially right now, we're in a market with so many gacha games and so many games that are so high quality, your Genshin Impacts, Honkai Star Rail, and so on and so forth. You're going to notice a situation where, the game isn't generating the same level of revenue it once was. But that being said, though, the fact that it's still making about $1 million a month, especially with ad revenue and everything, I think it's in a good position. I don't see a reason why we're expecting its end of service anytime soon. It's making a lot of money for what the development costs look like it actually is. Of course, I'm not much into game development or publishing. You guys probably may have a better idea of the costs that go into translations and, you know, voice acting, of course. So you guys can let me know. Maybe you can do the math, you know, do like sort of like a profit and loss account with the revenue that we have, put some estimates of costs, and boom, you've got your gross profit. Of course, then you obviously have marketing to pay for and everything. So obviously there's a lot of factors, and the net profit might be a lot lower than we expect it to be, but the revenue itself is, I mean, compared to other gacha games, and some of these gacha games obviously are much higher development costs. Basically, these gacha games are higher in development costs. So, you know, it is very much a inspiring showing, I would say, from Danmachi. Of course, not being so great in the US and EU servers, but I mean, backing it, you know, the JP server is going ham on making sure that, you know, we are surviving. Basically, we are surviving as a community. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Of course, this was an interesting video for me to make. I've been wanting to make a video on talking about, you know, the just generally the revenue and the estimates that we have given to us, of course, right? And talking about the end of service, because this is something I feel like we always see regularly in terms of like, oh, end of service is nearby, or doom posting and all that jazz, or how is it surviving 6 years. But I mean, the wallet tells everything, you know, the wallet tells everything is what I say. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say down below. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel for more Danmachi and Danmachi Memoria Freese content, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.